Okay, so what do I really have to say about this movie? There's not one thing in this movie that I don't like. Bye!
End of story. Goodbye. The end. Any questions?
No, I'm not gonna leave you on that note. But what I will say is I fucking adore this movie. The Last Samurai has recently jumped up to become one of my all-time favorite movies, to be honest with you, and it's... Ugh, I can't wait to talk about it! The Last Samurai was directed by Edward Zwick and stars Tom Cruise and Ken Watanabe. And it's about a man named Nathan Algren, who's played by Tom Cruise, and he's a veteran of the American Indian War. And he's done a lot of things before, a lot of things that he's not proud of. He's seen a lot of things that have really traumatized him. And when you first see him, he's broken, he's a drunk, he suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, this guy is just absolutely 10 directions of fucked. And he gets taken hostage by the samurai clan, led by Katsumoto, played by Ken Watanabe. And from there spawns one of the most amazing, well-written, most emotionally investing movies that I've ever seen in my life. Now, I had seen this movie a while back. I think my uncle first introduced me to this movie back when I was maybe 14, 15. I was somewhere around that age. And I just didn't really appreciate it all that much. I mean, yeah, I knew it was a good movie, don't get me wrong. I knew it was a very good movie, but I didn't get engrossed in it like I have been. I just recently revisited this movie about a month and a half ago, and I fell in love. I fell in love with this movie. The cinematography is incredible. The countryside has never looked so real, so tangible, so vibrant. And somehow the composition of shots whenever you watch it just make complete sense. I mean, even little things like two people having a conversation all the way up to big, epic battle sequences. It's perfect. Now, how's the acting of this movie? Well, Tom Cruise gives probably the best performance that I've ever seen from him. Now, I've seen a lot of Tom Cruise movies. I mean, I've seen Collateral, I've seen Edge of Tomorrow, I've seen War of the Worlds, I've seen Interview with a Vampire. I mean, Tom Cruise has been around a lot, but there's so many subtle things that he does with this performance that really make it come to life. It's not about, you know, yelling. It's not about just acting drunk. It's not about, you know, being physically involved with the role, which he is. I mean, he does a lot of his own stunts in this movie. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's not just that. There are small things that you see him do, like his facial expressions, the way he moves, the way he carries himself, the way he makes eye contact with some people. I mean, it really gives flesh to this character. It gives weight to this character. You feel like this could really be a real person. You don't watch this and see Tom Cruise. You watch this and you see the character of Nathan Algren. You feel his trauma. You feel how terrified he is. You feel everything that this character feels in this movie, and that's part of what really gets you emotionally invested in a movie like this, because if you watch any other movie and you can't connect with the characters on a mental, emotional level, then you're just basically, I don't even know what it's almost like the movie isn't really worth watching at that point. And Tom Cruise aside, I mean, nobody gives a bad performance in this movie. Not one person. There is one performer in here who plays the Emperor of Japan, who gives kind of a lackluster performance. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great. I mean, it's just there and whatever. He's mercifully not in the movie for very, very long, but it's there, you kind of notice it, nah, whatever, you can brush it aside because the rest of the movie is just perfection. Now, given that this is a samurai movie, of course you'd expect there to be some samurai action, but there isn't a lot of it. There's only 3 actual battle scenes, and other than the last one, they're really not very long. They just kind of come and go, which I think is very, very wise on their part, because this is where the good writing of the movie comes into play. The movie chooses to focus not so much on the samurai battles, it chooses more to pull you in with the friendship that develops between Nathan Algren and Katsumoto. They start off as bitter enemies, but eventually a friendship blossoms between them, and a great relationship and great dialogue between them. And it just focuses on them talking to each other, which in a way is almost as investing as the entire movie itself. Which brings me back to the writing of this movie. This movie is so well written. Not one sequence of dialogue feels expositional. I mean, yeah, you have your sequences where, you know, a character explains something to someone else, but there's always context behind it. There's always a reason for it. There is not one bit of dialogue where one character comes up to another and says, okay, well, this is the plot, and this is what you have to do, and this and this and this. No, it's not like that. The conversations feel real. They feel grounded. They feel like actual people talking to each other rather than just having a character here whose sole purpose is to just spout dialogue about the plot. And then the score. Oh my god. Hans Zimmer is a genius. He is an absolute genius. The score that he puts behind this movie is nothing short of perfection. It is powerful. It is emotional. And it's cultural too. I mean, it's Hans Zimmer. I take my hat off to you if I was wearing one, man. I mean, it's unbelievable what you've done with the score of this movie. But anyways, that's it for my actual review of the movie. I feel that I'll be able to present the movie to you better if I go and talk about my favorite scenes from the movie like I usually do with my other reviews. So, spoiler alert, I'm just gonna put the warning up now. Spoiler alert, I will be talking about my top 5 favorite scenes out of The Last Samurai. Number 5. Nathan Algren apologizing to Taka. Now, kind of early on in the movie, you see Nathan Algren kill a samurai in red armor. Well, it turns out that that samurai is the husband of Taka, who is the sister of Katsumoto, and who is also the lady who takes care of him and helps to nurse him back to health after a big battle. And he knows that he killed her husband, and he feels such a strong remorse for it. And so finally, in one scene, whenever they're by themselves, he sits down with her and he says, "I'm sorry."
Sorry. Gomen nasai. Gomen nasai for your husband, Hirotaro.
And Taka sincerely accepts his apology. I mean, but by that time, I believe about 3 or 4 months had passed since the day that he killed him. So by that time, she's already had some time to kind of process everything that's gone on since then, and she really sincerely accepts his apology. And it's a really heartwarming moment. It's a good character moment for Nathan Algren because there is that spark of redemption there. And that's something that he's been looking for since the beginning of the movie, really, because this guy is so broken, almost beyond repair, really. Number 4, Nathan Algren telling Colonel Bagley that the conscripts in the army are not ready to face Katsumoto. Now, this is a powerful scene. Something you have to realize about Nathan Algren is that he is suicidal. I mean, this guy is constantly looking for an opportunity to die. And this and another scene that I'll talk about very soon they're very misinterpreted scenes. Nathan hears that Katsumoto's attacked a railroad and he is ordered to take the army out there and engage him, but they're not ready yet. I mean, they're peasants who have hardly even seen a weapon before in their lives, and that they can barely fire in the same direction. So when Colonel Bagley solidly orders Algren to take the regiment out there to engage Katsumoto, Nathan tells one man to load his gun and fire at him.
Mr. Graham, tell this man to fire at me.
I beg your pardon?
Tell this man, if he does not shoot me, I will kill him.
Now, to some, this scene could be interpreted as Nathan just trying to prove a point, because he knows that the other guy's gonna miss. Supposedly. But if you look at it from a different perspective, this guy is suicidal. I mean, he doesn't know whether or not the bullet's going to hit him. He's just looking for an opportunity to die. So in his mind, on the one hand, he's kind of proving a point, but on the other hand, this could all end for him. All of his pain could go away. He doesn't want to kill himself, but he wants to die. And I feel that scene is very, very powerful. And when the conscript does finally fire and miss, you can see the disappointment in his eyes. I mean, he's just absolutely let down, but at the same time, his point was made. They weren't ready. Number 3, fighting Ujio in the rain. Now, this is the other scene that I was talking about that's kind of misinterpreted. Nathan is slowly recovering from injuries that he sustained in a previous battle, and he comes across Ujio, who's basically Katsumoto's right-hand man. I mean, this guy is a samurai to beat all samurais. And he's very proud and very stoic. And they get into a little bit of a skirmish. Nathan is holding a wooden sword in his hand. Ujio comes along and says to put the sword down, and he doesn't. He turns to face him and stands his ground. And what proceeds to happen is Ujio just beats the ever-loving shit out of him. I mean, to within an inch of his life. Now, whenever I say that the scene's kind of misinterpreted, some people see it as Nathan Algren showing how brave he is. Which, in a sense, I could kind of understand why you would see it that way, but at the same time, if you look at it in the context of the character, that's not really the case. He's trying to push Ujio far enough to kill him. Especially if you listen to the score behind it as it builds up and builds up into a climax, it's not triumphant music at all. I mean, it's not happy, it's not proud, it is heartbreaking, it is powerful, it's emotional. I mean, especially heartbreaking. I mean, this is not triumphant music at all. This is the kind of music that you hear whenever, like, people are getting slaughtered. And the reason Nathan keeps on getting back up whenever Ujio beats him down is just because he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be alive, especially not being alive as a captive in a place that he doesn't fully understand. He wants to die because he feels that death is the only escape from everything that he's ever experienced. Number 2, the battle in the fog. Now, whenever Colonel Bagley orders Nathan Algren to take his regiment out to fight Katsumoto, they're in a forest, and it's very foggy and very dark. And as the samurai approach on horseback, Nathan orders the regiment to take up firing positions, load their weapons, whatever. And he tells them to fire on his order only, because he knows that if they're too far away, they're all gonna miss. Every last one of them. And as the samurai get closer, one poor son of a bitch panics and fires off his rifle too early, which spurs a whole bunch of other guys around him to fire off their rifles. And of course, they all miss. And what proceeds is an absolute massacre. All the peasants get fucking demolished. I mean, they get slaughtered. Of course, Nathan and his sergeant friend Gant, played by Billy Connolly, are standing their ground. They're fighting until the very end. Meanwhile, all the peasants are running away, but as they're running, there's another regiment of samurai waiting for them on foot. And as the camera is following the peasants from behind, the fog kind of opens up and you see the other samurai materialize out of nowhere, and their war cries just... it chills me to the very bone. But what really makes the scene for me is whenever Nathan Algren gets knocked off his horse, and he's on foot, and he's getting swarmed by samurai, and he is fighting his absolute hardest. I mean, this guy is killing whatever samurai he can, holding off as best he can, and he gets grievously injured. And one of the subtleties that I mentioned before that really brings this character to life, whenever he gets injured, he gets stabbed twice. But his cry whenever he gets stabbed it's raw, it's primal. Like you feel like this guy is really in a battle and he is in pain because he just got impaled. And he is fighting until he cannot even stand. He's fighting until he falls to his knees. And whenever he's lying there breathing, he's breathing like an animal, like a cornered, wounded animal. And then he's confronted by Hirotoro, the samurai in the red armor, and he kills him. Katsumoto sees this, and it kind of corresponds with the premonition that he had about a white tiger fighting off a bunch of samurai, which leads to Algren, because the weapon that Algren's using is a spear on which is a flag with a white tiger on it. You can interpret it that way, or you can interpret it that Nathan Algren himself is the white tiger, because he's white. Whatever. But after Nathan kills Hirotoro, Katsumoto has him taken away, because he knows in his mind that there's a reason why he's here. Number 1, my all-time favorite scene. Sake! Now Nathan Algren is in Katsumoto's village trying to recover from his injuries from the previous battle, and this guy is an alcoholic. He is an absolute alcoholic. There's probably not been a cumulative day in the past however long that he hasn't been plastered, absolutely plastered. And he's lying there, sick, weak, having PTSD flashbacks to things that happened in the past, and he's lying there desperately asking for sake, you know, to make the visions go away. But something I didn't really realize until fairly recently was that whenever he's lying there screaming, like desperately screaming for someone to bring him sake, that's not just him trying to make his visions go away. That's not just him trying to get a drink because he's a drunk idiot. No, he's going through alcohol withdrawals. I didn't realize until recently that he's experiencing something called delirium tremens, where your body breaks out in fever and you have seizures and the shakes, and you have tangible hallucinations and disorientation. And he no longer really knows where he is because he's thrust into these vivid hallucinations of things that he did before. And you can really see it in his eyes whenever he's laying there, and he kind of raises his head and looks in horror at the fact that it looks like he's laying in front of a dead body, and he screams, and it's just heartbreaking. Like, Tom Cruise is acting behind the score that Hans Zimmer puts in there. I mean, it's very low. It's very under the surface kind of score, but it's there, and it adds so much weight to this scene, and it's so gut-wrenching. It is so gut-wrenching.
ひどくやられているな。酒？タカが面倒見てくれますよ。酒。酒。おばおれ。酒を飲ませてやれ。
それはできません。
ここは俺の村だ。
ここは私の家です。
酒。
Okay. Well, that's it for my, not really my first review, but this is my first review in I don't even know how many months at this point. I've been really inconsistent with my uploading schedule and stuff like that over the last few months, and I apologize for that, but as you can see, I'm kind of in a new area. I have a new house. I moved into a new place a couple of months ago, and things have just been absurdly busy lately, so I apologize for the wait with this. I've been promising you guys a new review for a while now, and I haven't really followed through, but hopefully that's going to change. I'm going to do my best to get out a new review at least once a week, maybe every couple of weeks if my schedule calls for that. But I'm back basically, and I'll be doing movie reviews from here on out. I'll be doing a vocal cover every now and then too. I have a blog that I started up. I'll put the link for that in the description below. So just yeah, stay tuned for updates, guys. You know, it's good to be back. It's good to be reviewing movies again and getting back into the swing of YouTube. And I really hope that I can get my subscriber count back up to where it was. I mean, I had almost 500 subscribers at one point, and I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just trying to get back in the swing of things. So thank you guys so much for being patient. As always, I will see you in the next review.